Donald Trump's team has already claimed electoral fraud is being committed, and several lawsuits have already been filed, and demonstrators are on the streets of several cities here in the US, and there are fears that the situation could escalate on that front. Well, joining me from Florida is Donald Trump's former acting White House Chief of Staff, Mick Mulvaney. Very good to talk to you, Mick Mulvaney. What a few days we are having. Now, tell us, let's discuss first of all the allegations of illegality coming out from the building behind me, coming out from the White House. Do you believe it? Do you think the president really believes it? That there are, hundreds of thousands of illegal ballots floating out there that the Democrats have somehow pumped into the system to steal the election?
Dermot, a couple of ways to respond to that. First of all, I have no firsthand information. I'm not at the White House anymore, so I don't see what evidence they actually have. But I will tell folks overseas who aren't really familiar with how we run elections here that despite what you may think, they're not always very professional. Elections here are locally run, oftentimes with volunteers who have minimal training. In my very first election, a ballot box didn't open on time because no one could find the keys to the gymnasium. They're done in churches, they're done in high schools, those kinds of places. So it's not at all unusual to have difficulties in elections. Similarly, anecdotes always pervade about people finding ballots someplace, missing ballots another place. It's part of our culture when it comes to elections. So it doesn't surprise me that's part of the discussion. But to a fair and straight answer to your question, no, I've not seen any evidence, actual evidence yet of fraud. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, just means I've not seen it.
Mick Mulvaney, Cordelia here. I mean, do you think it's responsible of the president at this crucial time for the American public and American democracy, when the democracy itself is on the ballot, for him to be telling the nation that you cannot trust the electoral process?
Oh, I don't know if that's exactly what he's saying. I think he's saying that he's concerned about having the election stolen from him through malfeasance. Beside that, if you read on a piece of paper what he said the other day in his presentation, and read what Joe Biden said on his piece of presentation, it's about the same thing. Both men think they have won. Both men want to make sure the other side doesn't take it away through some type of underhanded operation, and both men want the law to play out. That does mean it could take us several weeks here for the decision to be final. I fully expect there to be lawsuits in Pennsylvania. There already are lawsuits in Pennsylvania. Why is that? Go back to the unique nature of our electoral system. The Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court in Pennsylvania, about 2 weeks ago said that if the signature on a mail-in ballot, and in this country you have to sign a mail-in ballot so that we know that it's you, if that doesn't match the signature at the board of registration, the voter board of registration, they're still going to count the ballot. That seems somewhat counterintuitive and nonsensical to some folks. And those are the types of things that we'll see lawsuits over the course of the next several weeks. It's going to be very, I think it'd be done by counting by the end of the next day or two, but the lawsuits could go on for a while.
And Mick Mulvaney, is the strategy also partly insurance against losing this election, in that Donald Trump can claim that victory was stolen from him? He avoids then becoming the word he hates, a loser in his supporters' eyes. And it also means that he can stay active politically should he have to leave the White House, and maybe only temporarily. What about this? Run again in 2024?
Yeah, listen, it's a great issue, and it's been raised actually by you folks more often than it has been domestically, so I give you credit for that. I don't think folks here realize that if Donald Trump is not successful here, he goes right to the head of the ticket, or at least in the competition for 2024. Donald Trump 4 years from now will actually be younger than Joe Biden is now. So it's a wonderful perspective, and I congratulate you on it. As to being a loser and so forth, look, when Al Gore lost, he gave a wonderful speech, but he also said that he thought that he had won. Every politician who loses a close race like this feels like they won, and if the things had gone down slightly different, they'd be in office. It's not unusual. I would expect the president to be just as gracious in defeat as he would have been in victory.
Mick Mulvaney, that sounds rather like you're anticipating a loss for the president here. I mean, you have to look at the facts, and the margins for him are really narrowing, aren't they?
Actually, no, thanks for that question. The exact, while the margins are narrowing in states like Georgia and Pennsylvania, they're actually going the president's way in Arizona. In fact, I fully expect the president to win Arizona by the time the count is done, probably on Saturday. There's not been much attention paid to Arizona because it was called so early in our race on election night, but already one House seat has changed because of that late vote in Arizona, gone from a Democrat to a Republican. Congressman David Schweikert will win re-election in a district that plays a central role in the election of the president because of where it is. Those late votes in Arizona will be predominantly the president of the United States. They're tracking about 60%. He needs that to be about 54% to overtake Joe Biden in order to win that state. That being said, go back to your original question. Pennsylvania is the keystone, not to use it. That's actually the nickname of the state. I apologize for using the pun. But Donald Trump cannot win without Pennsylvania under any circumstance that I can see. So even if Arizona goes his way, which I think will happen in the next 48 to 72 hours, Pennsylvania still plays that central role.
Yeah, I mean, and as you say, it could all be decided by Pennsylvania in the next few hours. If the president loses it and has to go, will he go? Will he go quietly? And what do you think about some of his, let's say, more excitable supporters on the streets of cities throughout the United States?
Yeah, I don't think anybody supports the idea of civil unrest over the outcome of an election. That being said, I will point out to our friends overseas that most of the anticipated violence is in the Democrat cities. It would be the folks more likely to go to the streets, would be the folks upset about the fact that Donald Trump won re-election as opposed to the folks upset that he lost. But no one here endorses that. I'm certain that the president won't. But you just said a second ago that it could be decided the next couple of days. Again, the counting could be finished in the next couple of days. But the counting in Florida was finished long before the lawsuits were completed. So while the counting could be done in the next couple of days, it could be weeks, if not longer, until we actually know the outcome. That said, you ask another straight question, I'll give you another straight answer. There absolutely will be either a peaceful transition of power or a peaceful retention of power. Just expect both of these men to fight like cats and dogs until the very end. That's the nature of American politics right now, and I do not expect that to change between now and the end of this election.
But crucial to whether or not Donald Trump can win those legal fights is the final count, the number of votes. If it's, into the tens of thousands, large numbers, then there's very little chance that that's going to steer the race in another direction towards the president, is there? He needs these to be really, really tight to be in for a chance.
Sure, and that's the case in any election. If you have 10,000 contested elections and you are winning and losing by 100,000, then it's going to be a meaningless sort of endeavor, correct? But I do think you'll see narrow margins in Pennsylvania and in Arizona. Georgia is obviously shaping up to be very close as well. Pennsylvania, for example, my understanding of it, and I've seen the math, is that if the universe of votes stays the same, and that's an important assumption because that might not be the case, but if the number of votes that remains uncounted is a set figure, then Joe Biden has to win upwards of 80 or 85% of those votes in order to catch Donald Trump. That's highly unlikely given what we know about those votes. So then the question becomes, what about votes that come in after Election Day, votes that come in today or tomorrow, votes that come in without postmarks on when they were mailed? In some states, Pennsylvania, unfortunately, being one of them, many ballots go out with a prepaid envelope. And in our country, if you mail something with the postage paid by the person to whom you're sending it, it doesn't get canceled. It doesn't get that stamp showing when it was actually put in the mail. Those are the things of which lawsuits are made. It's why both campaigns have hundreds, if not thousands, of lawyers working for them. The stakes could not be any higher. And that's why, again, I don't know if this is going to be resolved anytime soon.